Hey gang, do you find yourself listening to your music on one app and then listening to your podcast on another app? If you do, stop this insane behavior right now and download Spotify. Spotify is home to all of your favorite music and all of your favorite podcasts. Podcasts including Fly on the Wall, the Saturday Night Live podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade, the Rock on Tours podcast with Gary Kemp and Guy Pratt, old favorites like Fresh Air, My Favorite Murder, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Look, if you're looking for a news podcast or sports or entertainment or true crime, look, if you're looking for a sewing podcast or an RV podcast, Spotify has all of this for you. That's Spotify. All of your favorite music and all of your favorite podcasts in one place. Find it in your app store and start listening today. That's Spotify, music and podcasts. Let's get down. Gang, I've been talking about True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD oils and how they've reduced my anxiety and helped me get better sleep for the last few months. I've also talked about the full spectrum CBD balms that relieve my hand pain and made playing guitar and piano much easier. Well, today, gang, I'm going to tell you about True Hemp Science organic gummies made with full spectrum hemp oil. These delicious organic vegan gummies contain 50 milligrams of CBD and 1.5 milligrams of THC per serving. I had the black cherry flavor and they are totally delicious. As I said, gang, I got great sleep. I felt totally relaxed. These things are absolutely fantastic. Get over to truehempscience.com and order yours today and start feeling more relaxed and sleeping better today. Now, gang, how did I get here as partnered with True Hemp Science to bring you a very special gift? Use code HDIGH at checkout, and with your purchase of $65 or over, get 296 milligrams of the number 81 distillate oil, which is great for rest and relaxation and sleep. Well, I told you about this one from the very beginning. That's right, gang. Go to truehempscience.com/HDIGH. Order some of these gummies. Get it going. Also, if you live in Austin, you can find them at their brick and mortar store in Austin at the corner of South First and Mary, right by the Soup Peddler. That's truehempscience.com. Get in there. Get more relaxed. Feel better. Get better sleep with True Hemp Science. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here are your hosts,
When we talked,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys all had a good weekend, whatever it is you did this weekend. I had a good weekend, you know. I did a lot of stuff with Rosie. It's been kind of weird because it gets so hot. If you live in Austin, you know what I'm talking about. It's getting up to like 106 in the afternoon. I heard I'm doing this on Monday. I heard it's going to be very, very hot today. I'm not quite sure exactly how hot, but I'm not just talking about the weather. What I'm trying to tell you is what I did this weekend was spend most of like from noon until about 8 indoors hanging out, doing indoor things. I wasn't able to play piano kind of really until today. If you keep up with the podcast, Rosie accidentally bit me the other day at the park last Wednesday. I was carrying a stick. Anyway, so there wasn't a lot to do this weekend. We went over to my friend Joe's house on Sunday. Me and Rosie, we hung out there. He's got an outside living room. He's got the dream, man. He's got he's got an outside living room, widescreen TV to be watching the sports and whatever. Kind of like a kitchen scene outside living room / kitchen with like a pool with a hot tub in it. He is living the dream. And so Rosie and I went over there, but really hanging out there was so fucking hot that even like under the ceiling and the ceiling fans outside, it was still just being outside was a torturous event. I've been taking Rosie to the dog park at like a certain time since we came back from Houston a week ago. I've been going around the same time every day. There's a group of people with really nice dogs that Rosie likes to play with, and it's kind of a groove. The people are nice. Very, very nice people. We have nice conversations and everything, but as the conversations go on and as the days go on, the conversations get a little deeper. People start revealing some things about themselves that they don't really start revealing at the beginning of a conversation, hence like political affiliations or like some weird kind of like conspiracy theories or anything like that. But that's all been starting to pop up over the last couple of days. Like you walking out, like you're like, yeah, I'm going to go. And the other guy's like, yeah, I'm going to go too, man. I'll walk out with you. So we're walking out of the dog park together, going out to our cars, and he stops to put his dog in his car. You see the Let's Go Brandon sticker on the back of his car. And you're like, oh, not even that it's like sides or anything. You're like, oh, you're enmeshed in a scene that like I can't even like get behind. But you know, you're a nice guy, so we'll still talk, whatever. But there was one guy today. One guy, I mean, he's really nice. He's really nice, this guy. He has, but he's like one of those dudes. Like his dog isn't neutered, you know, like on purpose. And he sits there listening to like the kind of like Alex Jones and QAnon level videos on his phone. I guess maybe on Instagram or like on TikTok or something. But with the sound on, so everyone can kind of hear. Everyone around him can kind of hear what he's hearing. I heard Woke Mob coming from his phone a lot today. But it's just so funny that, like, you know. It's just so funny that you can meet someone and, you know, relatively normal people, and then you're talking and you're like, hey, you like movies? And you're like, yeah, I like movies. You got to go see that new Top Gun, man. Really? Yeah, it's that good? Yeah, man, I mean, it's that good. And also, you know, look, there's not a lot of movies out there that you can go see anymore where they really, really are proud to be American. And it's a truly American movie. And you're like, oh, God, this guy. You know what I mean? Still a really nice guy, but like, oh, I'm not going to subscribe to this bullshit and go see the Top Gun movie so I can feel more fucking patriotic. Yeah, there's none of that woke bullshit in there. None of that, you know. Oh, awesome. Let's go back. Let's go back in time and watch John Hamm. John Hamm, one of my favorite dudes on the screen and television, be a buffoon. So I can watch some people fly planes in really fast ways. Anyway, whatever. Look. It's just funny. I'm just pointing that out because, like, I'm pretty sure we can all get along. I'm pretty sure we can all be friends. There was like an overwhelming sort of like, there was a couple that me and this other woman that was there kind of like working and letting her dog. Also, she's kind of bros with those guys too. They kind of went into a scene today, like into like three guys just kind of working each other up with the masks and what they're trying to keep us from doing so that we can be docile and they can tell us what to do. And this is the way it's going. And oh, hey, I noticed a sticker, man. Hey, I can't remember which one. Don't try. One of those super weird, like, militia kind of stickers. This guy was all happy the other guy had. Anyway, long story short, I think we can all get along as long as our dogs are there. Is that something? Is that a thing? Everyone go get a dog right now. You know, I don't know. Everyone's got the crazy uncle, right? Everyone's got the crazy uncle that knows the truth about stuff that nobody's telling you. That's been the thing for a long time. But over the last 6 years, 7 years, it's really taken over. It really has. Craziness. Hey, gang, it just occurred to me there's probably a lot of new listeners coming to the show because of our guest today, who I will tell you about in just a minute. But I want to welcome you to the show. My name's Johnny. I'm a musician. I live here in Austin, Texas. And I've been doing this show for coming up on 11 years in August. And I put out 1,180. This is episode 1,183. We're almost at 1,200 episodes. And if you want to go back and listen to it, scroll through our archives, listen to great conversations with people like the band Styx. Yeah, I've had Styx on here. Angelo Moore from Fishbone, Dwight Twilley, Phil Lewis from LA Guns, Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's, Ian McLaughlin from The Faces, may he rest in peace. So many great conversations with so many great artists. Get out there and check it out. There's all kinds of conversations, all kinds of artists. You can find it at howdidigethere.podbean.com. Scroll through and you can find all the episodes there. You can also find all the episodes on the Podbean app. Otherwise, you can find the latest 20 episodes wherever it is you stream and download your podcasts or listen to music. Subscribe, check it out, enjoy it. Gang, I have a great show for you guys today. G-Love from G-Love and Special Sauce is my guest on the show today. That's right, man. I've been a fan of his for over 25 years since the first record came out. Since I first heard Cold Beverages on alternative rock radio, sandwiched somewhere between Stone Temple Pilots and Smashing Pumpkins. But that's a story that we'll tell in the podcast. Gang, I was really looking forward to having this conversation because I am such a fan. It's got a brand new record out that is fucking great. It's called Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's on Philadelphonic Records. It was produced by Luther Dickinson from North Mississippi All-Stars. It features all kinds of great collaborations with guys like Schoolie D, Cam Kimbrough, Jontavius Willis, R.L. Bryce, Freddie Fox. Great artists all over the place. And if you like, maybe you were listening to G-Love in the 90s and then maybe you lost track of him and you might have heard his name here and there. But his last record, Juice, fucking great record, came out in 2020 and was nominated for a Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues Album. I was going through all of his stuff and seeing what's been happening with him for like the last 20 years, and so many great songs, so many great collaborations. He did One Night Romance with Mary Clayton, the late great Mary Clayton. What a fantastic artist. G-Love's going to be on tour throughout the summer until basically until September and probably after that. But he's doing a solo tour. He's doing shows with the band. You can find out all about that by going to Philadelphonic.com. If you live in Austin or in Houston or in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, he'll be in Austin September 8th. He'll be in Houston September 9th and in Irving, serving the Dallas-Fort Worth area on September 10th. Go to Philadelphonic.com. Now, listen, I was really stricken when I was going through his stuff. You get a sense of his family, like all the stuff that he posted during the quarantine, all of like the videos from his backyard with his family and his kids. In fact, one of his kids popped up in the interview when he came back one time. One of his kids got loose from the house and came outside and was out there being part of the interview. It was very, very cute. Anyway, you get a sense of family. Of what it means to him and sort of like where he's gone with his life. And you get a lot of sense of that from the Juice as well. Anyway, Philadelphia, Mississippi, great record. I listened to it with my cousin Emily while we were making dinner a couple of times the night before I did this interview a couple weeks ago at my grandma's house. But it was great. G-Love exceeded my expectations for how cool he would be. So please enjoy my conversation with this amazingly cool guy, G-Love, from G-Love and Special Sauce. Let's get down.
Looking and standing in the parking lot, 5 strand, make it twang, show you what I'm all about. Thinking about the vibes and the soul and the heart and the gold and the pain and the suffering and the gain and the wonder and the fame. Outside right here playing in the parking lot, thinking about the old days, taking a look at what I got, making that bill, go make a Philly to the sip to let it rip. While the guitar rips.
I've been listening to your music since the first record came out.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it came out around the time when I got married. And that's over now, but your record was like the soundtrack of like a lot of the first year of our marriage.
Right on.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just want to X out of the Discord because it's like making a lot of beeps and shit.
Are you in?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Are you in Philadelphia?
I'm not. We live in Cape Cod these days.
Oh,
in Massachusetts.
Nice.
Yeah.
When did you move there?
Well, I moved to Boston in 2004 to be with my older son, who's now 20, going to be 21 this summer.
Yeah.
And and then that just kind of, and then when he graduated, we moved to down to the Cape full time. So, and then it kind of happened like right before the pandemic hit. So that's where we moved down here to kind of the country by the beach, I call it.
Yeah. You have quite a crew.
Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Houston right now. I live in Austin, but I'm helping take care of my grandma this week. So
oh, nice.
I'm actually in my grandma's backyard where I've been playing my whole life. So
all right.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to be back here. You have quite a crew of kids.
I do. I have 4. I have 4 boys. 21, 6, 2, and 1.
Wow. They keep you busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Watching, there was a what is it? The Christmas moon video.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you doing those during the pandemic? Was that part of your?
Yeah.
outlet?
During the pandemic, we did. During the pandemic, we did 2. I did manage to produce 2 records, or create 2 records.
Right.
One was the Christmas record, and then the latest release of Philadelphia, Mississippi. But yeah, we would. I mean, we did a lot of. a lot of live streaming, and I just was trying to just kind of, do the music, for my own sanity, and also for, I think, our fans and people that are out there. I just kind of try to push out as much content as possible. So yeah, it was cool. I think people, I did like the Hunker Down sessions where I would like take some old song from my catalog and kind of break down what the song was about. And then we did our G Loves Kids Club. And then we did, live streaming to raise money, for ourselves. And we would split, half the revenues and give it to like a venue somewhere around the country that we had performed for the local crew. So we got by with the support of the fans, and actually were able to help some other people struggling as well too, in the industry.
Yeah, that's great, man. That was a difficult time. I mean, how long were you on tour? Like your whole life? You pretty much like album tour. I mean, I've always seen you coming through Austin, and like you're out somewhere and stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, we kind of, when we put out the debut record in 1994, and then we were just perpetually on tour since then. And so, yes, some of the touring would be, attached to a record cycle. Well, I guess most were attached to record cycles, but I mean, I guess the reality of the situation is that, we never really made any revenue off the live recordings. However, not of our records. We never made revenue off of record sales, right? But they were all, the records themselves was the catalyst for, it was, like you said, album, touring, and then, but we never stopped touring. It's not like we just do like an album release tour. Like we just perpetually tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
are we going now? We're like,
yeah. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, good. All right. Before we go too far from it, I want to talk about Philadelphia, Mississippi, man. What a great record.
Thanks, man.
I listened to it when they first sent it, and I was like, it was great. But the other night, I came down to Houston, and my cousin and I were making dinner, and I was like, hey, she asked me like who I've got coming up on the show, and I was like, dude, I'm going to interview G Love. And she was like, no way. And I was like, check out this new record. And we actually listened to it twice in its entirety. It is so fucking good, man.
Thanks, man. Oh, thank you, man. That means a lot. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's thank you, man. It's just been a real exciting project, and honestly, it's I don't know, man. Like it's kind of a concept record, not in the sense of like Tommy from the Who, or something like that. The concept was, I'm from Philly, as you know, and I'm a student of the blues, which is the blues. We're pretty much born in Mississippi. And so, and there's a city in Mississippi called Philadelphia, so
right.
That always been like, it's just like a low hanging fruit. Like, why wouldn't I do a record called Philadelphia, Mississippi? Because I'm like hip hop blues, right? So, after we finished the Juice, with Kebmo, which was like our first Grammy nomination.
Congratulations
really,
on that too, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That was like super empowering for me. Because of the fact that, just to get that kind of notoriety and respect in the industry, and, I don't know, like,
can I ask you
that
this?
meant a lot. Yeah.
That was your first nomination?
Yeah.
And it probably meant a lot because at this point in your career, like I'm a musician as well, and we're around the same age. So there are things about growing old in this industry that are pretty frightening. You know what I mean? Like, are they still going to come? Am I going to become like
right.
Nothing against like Rod Stewart, but that's not the model I would want to be. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden you're singing but you know what, like just kind of like going and singing the standards when you get to a certain age, and then just kind of like like exiting being an artist and creator and challenging yourself. And I feel like this record, I want to get into how you made it because I know it was very collaborative, but the fact I was going through your records and there's this spirit of collaboration with you.
Right.
that I believe has kept you engaged and being able to look forward musically with what you're doing and still hold on to because what you're doing is based in such a like rooted thing. Like the blues is a thing, but you're not just a 1-4-5 guy shuffling it away, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, because like when the Juice came out and then we got that Grammy and it was called Contemporary Blues Album, you know, of the year nomination. That to me is like, okay, wow, that's so like our whole career, like they've never been able to fit us in a box. So like when our first record dropped, you could go to the Boston Tower Records and it would be in the hip hop section. But then you could go to Philly, it would be in alternative rock. So for the marketing people, G Love and Special Sauce has been a tremendous challenge. And that's been a tremendous challenge for the consumer because we've never been part of like, you know, like for instance, like now super popular music is like American reggae, like, right? Like it's basically the rock and roll kids are doing reggae now. And if you're part of that scene, you kind of have a built-in fan base. If you're a real hip hop artist making just a traditional hip hop record of whatever that is, you know what I'm saying? Then you have an automatic crowd. Like, so we never have, if you're a blues artist, you have an automatic crowd. So we've never, if you're a jam band artist, you get the jam band. We've always skirted all of these, communities, but kind of like danced around them. So I thought it was cool, like the contemporary blues lane. That's cool because what is that saying? It's just saying you're taking this roots form, like you said, right? But you're pushing it forward, and you can there's no rules as to what a contemporary blues record is, right? You can push it in any direction. I think as long as you're kind of playing homage to the blues,
right?
So to me, it's like a wide open canvas, and it's just like, all right, and that kind of led to like, well, let me follow up the Juice. Now I have a lane, and let me stick to this lane, like blood, sweat, and tears, and like, how can I really push forward what I'm doing and maintain in that lane? And so that led me to the creation of Philadelphia, Mississippi. You know,
right. It's funny because when you say that about the way that you're marketed, I was going back to where I first heard cold beverages was probably sandwiched in between Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam or something on an alternative. Right. That's where I heard you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, I always say between Pearl Jam and Nirvana, like on MTV, because it would be on MTV, and like, well, that's a whole nother funny story. But like, just real quick, like that was, it kind of is representative to, again, this kind of this quirky, whatever person or artist we and I've been in my whole career. But like when we got to make the cold beverage video, you know, the first record obviously had a good amount of buzz on it, so I said, well, I'm not going to lip sync, right? I'm not going to do a video because I don't want to lip sync. And they said, like, fine, well, it's a big budget Sony, so fine, we'll bring a mobile studio, and the video is us playing a live performance on the street in downtown LA, and Mark Romanek, the famous video director, directed it, and it was a huge video. But again, like you go on MTV and it would be like Nirvana, which is a really high production, and also the Pearl Jam records are really high production. Then it would be like our live street performance, and it sounded like it was. I mean, it was a good performance, but like it sounded like it was what it was. And then you think, wow, well, what if we would have had that same video with the album track? It probably would have got a little more traction. But again, these are things that, and again, that was in the spirit of the blues, because I know John Lee Hooker would never do, know. And Bob Dylan would never do, lip syncing, you know?
Yeah. And it's cool that you did that. And it's funny because then I'm looking at sort of like since I'm a musician, probably I was looking for something that would stand out and be different. And that's probably why I was so attracted to that, both on the radio and on MTV, because it was just literally stood out, which could either, which doesn't go well with marketing people.
Right. You can't get it in the fucking box.
Yeah. Exactly. But what a great career you've been able to have and sustain on your own, with standing by your own creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, again, it's so that was the flip side of that, John, was like the finding that niche. And, actually, I read this little blog every day by this guy, Seth Godin, and it's a wonderful little blurb he sends as an email blast every day. It's basically marketing, but it's a lot broader than that. But one of the things he always talks about is like, is niche marketing, and like what, like why do you, or if you make a high quality product, right, and it's a certain thing, it's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not a middle of the road thing, and maybe you're not going to have middle of the road huge sales, but you could have this early core community, and that's kind of what we've developed over the years through the strength of the live shows, especially. And I think in the studio we've had some ups and downs, but we made some good records. And you know what I'm saying, like it's been a real niche community, and I think over time, like if you generally ask anybody on the street, oh yeah, do you know G Love and Special Sauce or G Love, and they're either going to say no, I never heard of that. Oh my God, I love those guys.
Yep, that's right.
But yeah, we really developed a good core audience, and that's been the thing that sustained us in that niche market. So I'm thankful for that, because yeah, like and then there's the other part of me that's like, wow, like that huge like hit record thing, like that kind of fuck you money and like
get a
Lamborghini kind of thing that I've seen some of my friends get. Like that's an amazing thing that's kind of eluded us. So that's all. I think all of us working musicians wish for that hit record, but again, like you see, it doesn't always work out. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of bands have had hit records, they're not really around or making records, or nobody's listening. So we've had a continuous support and people that are actually listening to what we're doing, because we're trying to make viable artwork that's like truly inspired, and the songwriting, like when we talk about the music specifically, like trying to make a record and make songs, like I try to make them for like the right reasons, I think, like, and I've always done that since I've been a kid. When I first started making music, it's just what should a song be written for? You know what I mean? Like it should be an expression of a true feeling and inspiration. It's not. I don't think it should be written from like the perspective of like we're gonna sit down and like do a songwriting session and because we want to get a single. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like and I'm not saying that I don't, because I do writing sessions. And there is those times when you do writing sessions, you sit down with a writer or another artist, and like you got a 4-hour window and you write, right? But even those, you try to make it about the music and the inspiration. And
it could still come from a real place.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I do feel like there's for kids' generation now that are growing up or have grown up with the internet, right? It's like I think kids these days, like they automatically, as young teenagers, like think like, well, I'm going to do this because look, Taylor Swift writes her songs and you can make a lot of money. And it's like, when I was a kid, it was like, there was no chance because there was no internet. So the music business was like light years away. There was no thinking that like, you're going to be on MTV or you're going to get a record deal. Or you're going to be one of those people on the radio, because there's no way to get to it. Now anybody can get to it. Right. So there's that incentive to like, when I first started writing songs, it was just because like I had emotions that I needed to get out, and I play guitar.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's funny because I feel like there really was like a quest. Like you really had to like lock yourself in your room and find a guy that knew these chords, or find a guy that had the Screaming Jay Hawkins record or something. You know what I mean? Like find the guy that like you had to do a lot of work to get this shit. And I wonder, I mean, I see a lot of like artists now, and I guess also because the brass ring was so huge when we were coming up, like Fuck You Money was available at that time. But now there's no Fuck You Money. If you have like a number one hit, it might sell 25,000 copies or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. And that's the other thing too. Yeah, for sure. Like, till like the mid 2000s, till like, 2008 or whatever, there was always that speculation when you would make a record that like it's basically like buying a lottery ticket. Like I just remember we made this record. We had got dropped by Sony after 2001. And then there was like 2 or 3 years we're trying to, make demos and get a new deal. Well, we finally did a deal with Jack Johnson and Emmett Malloy with Brushfire Records, and we made this record, The Hustle. And man, it was produced by Mario Caldato, and I was like, it's a great fucking record. And I was so sure that this record was going to be a hit record, man. I was like, I remember walking, my older son was like, 2 then or 3, and we'd like walk down the beach and be like looking at all these oceanfront houses be like, I think we should get that house, after this record drops. And then, and then I put the record out and the sales were okay, and we got dropped by Universal. So, but there was always that like incentive, like, this is lottery. Now fast forward to my latest release, Philadelphia, Mississippi. Yeah, like you're in a place right now where, that's not really part of the thought process now, that there's going to be, no matter how great the record is, that there's going to be sales that are going, it's basically, I hate to say it, my manager really pisses me off when he says it, but he calls the records lost leaders for touring, which is a really tough thing for me to hear, because, you spend, one way or another, you spend a couple of years of your life and energy, like putting, creating, writing, making, and putting out a record,
Well, what's funny is so many people, myself included, like the last few years, I've only put out like an EP and then like a series of singles, just because it costs so much to do that shit and whatever. But, but to see somebody that makes a record, and I'm glad that we were able to engage with it so much that it led us to start it over, like in a great way too. Like you want to hear it again? Like, yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to sort of like, it's the same thing about like the quest, like trying to find some record where you have to get in a car with somebody, go to the record store and sing something to a guy, you know what I mean? At the record store to try and see if he can find the thing that you heard on the college radio station, like New Music Hour the night before. You know what I'm talking about? Right. But now you just find all that stuff, and I wonder if the appreciation and all that stuff is gone. Like the thing that our parents would tell us, like, oh, you save the money and buy it yourself because you'll appreciate it more. Is that that's a real thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, what you're saying makes me think of a couple of things. One thing is that, like, that's a great sign to me that you guys spun it, because you had to do your homework, and then you're like, well, I want to genuinely hear it again, because it is something. Also, there's so much music to listen to. Like, you got your old favorites, and then you have all this new releases that always, and then you're like, wow, like, for instance, like, and this is not a knock at all, but like Gary Clark Jr., you're an awesome. He's a friend, and I'm a huge fan of what he does, and when he put out his last record, This Land. Yep. Yeah. It's such a huge record, and I was over the moon about it. But again, and I'm not the most diligent music listener, but I listened to the record once all the way through, and I love the record, but I never have listened to it again. So. Right. So again, it's like, but I might put on a Gary Clark, Spotify thing. So again, like, because of the way technology is, you're having, even if you love my new record, you might not always put on that record. Or if you put on Spotify and even started with one of those songs, it starts playing a million different artists and other songs from other songs in my catalog. So it's hard. It's like, if you want to listen to like an actual album, it's like a challenge, right? Because you actually have to like iTunes and like just play this record. Right. In the order it goes. Exactly. In the order they set it up for me to listen to. And right. Yeah. Like, you remember, remember like back in the day, like there were sometimes you would actually pay somebody after you finished the record to like help us pick the order, the sequence. Because there was people that like specialize in like sequencing of how this album would flow. Dude, nobody ever told me there was someone that you would sit in coffee shops, with my Walkman, and then later on with my Discman, and then later on with my iPod. Right. Like changing the order and trying to make notes. Same. Yeah. Same. Over and over again. Yeah. I still do. Speaking, okay, so with the record that does have a theme more than it does a concept so much, did the order of because the record starts off with that song you do with Schoolie D. It's drawing a blank on it right now. Yeah. Fucking like it totally opens the record in the way that record should be opened up. Oh yeah, right. Thank you. Like it's a party. Yeah. Actually, to tell you the truth, the sequencing on this record, this record was really unique for me, because I think it's because I kind of conceptualized it so far in advance. it's interesting. Like originally, because I started doing these blues cruises and got to meet and understand that there's a whole world of emerging blues men and women, like African American men and women,
That's right.
young people in their teens and 20s that are off the charts, like amazing musicians, and they're doing this thing that's completely like pushing it forward and also completely authentic, right? And I was just blown away by guys like Kingfish and Mr. Sip and Cedric Burnside and John Tavius Willis. And
So these are all guys that collaborated with you on this record.
well, actually, no, I was just going to say, like, originally I wanted to do the record with Cedric Burnside because we had connected on the boat, and I thought, wow, that'd be amazing. Like, he's unbelievable. Like, what if Cedric produced my record? I went down to make a record with Cedric. When he for whatever reason, all good, he politely declined from being a part of this project, but his guitar player Trent Ayers is on it. But it led me to calling Luther Dickinson, and we had been trying to do something for years. But that's another part of the story. But basically, like, going down there, wanted to go down to Mississippi. I wanted to interact with all these young blues men and women and kind of immerse myself in their musical culture and learn from them, and also push them forward on my platform, because my platform is a little bigger than most of them. Let me get these guys and gals out, and also let me soak this authentic, because that's all I've ever wanted to be and to listen to is authentic, real music. And like, let me go down and do that. So that was the Philadelphia, Mississippi, and the name was there. And then, so basically the sequence wrote itself, because, well, we had a song called Love from Philly, but we have to have a song called Mississippi. So that's the second track.
Right.
And then all the songs just kind of flowed into each other after that. But this record, you know, and when I say it wrote itself, it literally did, because we went into the studio, we had some sketches of songs and we had some finished songs, but the whole gist of it was like, we're going to invite everybody in the studio and we're going to say, well, we have, you know, a couple hours, bring a riff or a hook, or just be ready to create. And everybody created, and we'd have, some people would come with a riff and some people would come with a hook. And then sometimes we would just have something going and say, can you write to this? Like Alvin Youngblood Hart, like said, this song's called Mississippi. So he just wrote his little verse on the spot. And, so everybody was on the spot collaborations, which was really interesting way to work.
So you were able to do it in person?
Yeah, no, we did it all in person. Yeah.
So you did it last year or something?
Yeah. So we basically, like, during the, during the pandemic, we were switched to doing live streams, and then we were able to do backyard parties, which we call soul.
Yeah.
So basically we ended up getting an anchor date at a small festival in Jackson, Mississippi. And so we said, we're going down to Mississippi. So we did soul barbecues all the way down there, you know, made money to pay for the studio. And then we had a 5-day window between the festival and a house party. And we were able to, because it was a pandemic, everybody was off the road. Like, everybody's available because no one's talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most people couldn't figure out how to make a dime. So everyone was like stoked for a day of work, and like it worked. We were able to do have 10 guests in like 5 days. And it's crazy.
It's amazing.
And it was unbelievable. It was like such a overwhelmingly, inspirational session. It was really, there was a lot of magic, and then everybody would come in and you'd just be blown away by everybody. Whether it was Alvin Youngblood Hart, John Tavius Willis, and Kingfish came in together. I mean, there was moments like there's a lot of moments, you know, like there's one moment that sticks out in particular where John, so Alvin had come in, and he's like a studio pro, right? Because he's like a blues man, lives in Memphis, but he also lived in the Bay Area and is a rock and roll guy too. So he's like very like on it in the studio and really creative guy. And then the young guys came in, John Tavius and Kingfish is like the hottest new emerging artist in the blues world, right? I mean, like, you know, it was amazing to get this kid in, and basically these young men, they're young men that they're hanging out. They're like, hey, they're like kids. They're like, I'm like an old guy now. Like they're like kids out back, like smoking blunts, and they just want to jam blues all day.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yo guys, let's make this record now. So we're working on a song called My Ball. And so basically John Tavis and his dear friend, like we toured a lot, I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Chuck's going to play this hip hop beat, right? And then we're going to loop it. And then we're going to play this loop, but then he's also going to play to it. And then we're going to count to 4, and you and Kingfish come in playing some kind of looping blues riff in the key of E. And he's like, all right. And then it was like, all right, so should we try it? And it was like, okay, right. And Kingfish sitting over there, and John Tavis sitting right here. I'm sitting next to John Tavis. And then they're like, okay, bet. All right, 1, 2, Chuck started playing, 3, 4. And then they just came in with this riff. And after we get up, you got to like check it out because it's the coolest riff. It's like John Tavis playing this like Hubert Sumlin, like backwards blues feel. And then Kingfish doing a little upside down
What's
run.
the song called?
It's called My Ball. It's
My
the
Ball.
3rd track.
Okay.
And like, it's the craziest 2 guitar riffs playing, and they just crushed it. They didn't even like talk about it or play it before the tape was rolling. They just cold cut it like that. And it was like, what? But this was kind of the spontaneous, like everyone was kind of standing on the edge of the cliff. Like, what's going to happen? Cause it was all in real time.
Yeah. Man, one of the things my cousin and I were talking about was how you came up from a world of basically African American music. 2 worlds that were like a hip hop, funk, and blues that's dominated. The originals are all African American, and a lot of guys that I've seen trying to do something that you're trying to do aren't pulling it off. It's not very genuine, and therefore they get called out as like fake or like fake blues,
right.
Fake this. But you're not, and you've not been. I've never, you know what I mean? Like I've only heard. I don't see it either. Like when I hear you, it's authentic music. But is that something that ever you thought about? Like, oh shit!
Oh my God! Yeah.
Hope no one gets mad at me.
No, I mean, Giant's like been a huge part of my career. I mean, and honestly, like early on, it was like the hugest thing that happened. Because again, like I was a street musician and a songwriter, and then I met my band, and then we made demos and hustled our ass off. And 9 months later, we signed with Epic Records, and then it was like. All of a sudden, it was like, if you like the Lord of the Rings, it was like, Sauron's eye.
Yeah.
like, goes on you.
And you were a kid.
It was like, yeah. And so everyone, especially like the European writers, but everybody was like, yo, white kid from Philly. No, scratch that. Rich white kid from Philly. And then there was this guy, Tom Moon, who gave us a 4-star review in Rolling Stone. He met my parents were huge supporters. They came to like this early gig at this place, Pontiac on South Street in Philly, and they're like, Tom Moon like saw this older couple. Who are you? Well, we're G Love's dad. So what's your name? Gary. So he just assumed that I was like that. My father and I shared a name. Well, we kind of do. He's Lewis Garrett Dutton Jr. and I'm Garrett Drew Dutton.
Okay.
But Tom Moon put in the Rolling Stone article, G Love, also known as Garrett Dutton III. And like he dad talked, so he found out that my dad was a lawyer. So like all of a sudden, like my music to me, a lot of it was like, rebelling from not necessarily my parents, but from the, I'm going to go to college and get a job and do something like be a lawyer or whatever that was. Like that was not going to be me, and I wanted to leave that. And in truth, like the music, especially when I started, was the pursuit of art and not money.
Yeah.
In fact, it was apparent to me that I would not make money, and I just didn't care because I just wanted to like play music. Well, so to me it was like, so anyhow, long story short is after we got the deal, right, again, rich white boy from Philly trying to play blues and hip hop. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, how can you do that? Or like, what gives you the right to do that? Like, do you know what the blues are? Do you know the struggles of the cultures that did this? So a lot of, and as a young man, like trying to just figure out the world,
Yeah.
that was like a heavy cross to bear for me. And it was heavy for me.
Did you go nuts at all?
But yeah, I just picked up where I left off. Like, yeah, it's like the hip hop is the folk music that's born out of like this trials and tribulations and the oppression of black people in black communities in the 70s and 80s, and also the limitations of not having music in schools. And so they figured out how to make music with 2 turntables and their voice, right? And it's poetry, and it's heavy, and it's the realest music that's come since the fucking blues, right? Because rock and roll is an appropriation of the blues.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm do like really heavy music things just because I'm a fan of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I found a way to like kind of speak in that language, and that was everything to me. And so like I've always like taken it so seriously, and it's been like a really heavy thing for me. But yeah, like there was always like the question like, oh, what gives you the right to like do it?
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
This is Garrett. Yeah. Cal.
Hi, buddy. How you doing? I gotta say, man, there's a song from the Juice, She's the Rock, and that video for that is such a nice, like you feel like you're watching a thing, you're like, you're just like, all right, man, G-Love's doing all right. Like he's happy.
Yeah.
He's doing good.
Yeah, like, finally healthy.
That's all right.
You started.
I hate doing these things on Zoom, man, but they allow me to get to talk to guys like you without having to be in the same town. So it's a blessing and a curse. You know what I did want to ask you, just out of personal, like, okay, so you grew up in Philadelphia and then you moved to Boston. Why?
Well, okay. Well, so I've done it twice, right? So I moved to Boston in 1992 because, and I think this is really cool because Boston is a wonderful, smart city, had a program that enables street musicians to get a license for $25 at the City Hall in Inman Square in Cambridge, and you could be legal to perform in the subway, the T system, which is their subway, and on the streets all throughout Boston and Cambridge and the surrounding areas. So whereas Philadelphia, where I was from, it was technically illegal to do that, although you would hardly ever get chased by the cops out, but you could, and you did.
Right.
So that's what led, and also Boston was, to me, New York was kind of daunting. I was also thinking about Montreal and that, but anyway, I went to Skidmore College for a year, and a friend of a friend had a friend in Boston that needed another housemate, and got my spot in Jamaica Plains. And then I lived there from 92 as a street musician that first summer in 92. 93, I had my band. In 94, I hit the road, and then while I was on the road, my homeboys came up from Philly. My mom rented me a place in the upcoming neighborhood Fishtown in Philadelphia, and they moved me back home. And next time I came home from the road, I went to that house. And then years later, I met a young woman on tour in Boston, and we had a relationship that failed, but we had a wonderful son. And so when she moved back to Boston, I moved back to Boston as well to be with Aiden, my son, and that's where I lived as G. Lyle Exile in Boston Street for 14 years of, kind of not the great. I had the best time of my life in Boston when I wanted to move there.
Right.
And when I had to move there, it was a whole different emotional experience. So it's a tough thing for any people out there that are on the fence about like, well, should I try and get pregnant to save my stupid relationship? Don't do it.
Right.
Because, basically like, long story short is that you want to have kind of back to like my wife, Kelsey, and where we're at now, like, we're happily married. And if you have a partner that's supportive I'm not trying to knock Aiden, I'm saying like, when you find the right match and people say to you, it should be easy, it really should. And it's never going to be we'll walk in the park every day of your life. But, if you're on the same goals and have love and, it really works. It makes a difference. So now I have all these breakup songs from my old catalog, and I don't even want to sing them.
That is a weird thing, how you become a different person. Now you've been putting out music so long. Like when you go play stuff from that first record, do you have fond memories? Obviously, even if you are just going through the motions, you're not going to say you are, but you know what I mean? Like, what kind of relationship do you have to the music from that first record now?
Honestly, like, I have such a wonderful relationship with all of like my old catalog, especially like, that the first record you think is catalyst for the continuation of those hits off it for a whole career. And that record was so stellar, like looking back on it, it's a classic. So to this day, like I love to play it. I sincerely love to play those songs, and we keep them fresh every night. So there's never like a dialing it in thing. And those songs, they continue to like, the lyrics remain relevant. The music remains relevant, and they're performance pieces. So they continue to like hit hard. Like, it's a terrible thing we have to speak about, but Roe v. Wade was just overturned. And like, I played some of my biggest shows again since the pandemic. And I realized like, Baby's Got Sauce that song to me was written about an imaginary woman that had attitude, a strong woman, a woman with chutzpah and sauce. That's what sauce was. The woman with attitude, a strong-willed woman. And that's what I closed the song out with is, our women deserve better. And then that song in particular, even though, it's a fun kind of whimsical love song, but the base of it is celebrating a strong woman. And, like that comes to women's rights and everything else. So again, like you find ways to continuously associate like some of your past efforts with what's happening now. And so it's interesting. So songs kind of like get more powerful as time goes on, because you realize, wow, fuck, this is more relevant now than ever.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a great story to have, especially like in this time. It's nice to hear something like that you can go back and be like, oh, I've been on this train a long time. I want to touch on this thing because you did this song, One Night Romance with Mary Clayton. Dude, that song is great. What was it like working with her?
It was great. Well, the song is written by Christy Lee, who's a blue-eyed soul singer from Mobile, Alabama, and a dear friend. And we ended up cutting it with Mary Clayton as the duet, although Christy does perform on it, doing the backgrounds. But yeah, that was just a wonderful day in the session. And it was just kind of, again, like being on a good team. Emmett Malloy at Brushfire Records. And it was after the movie 10 Feet from Stardom. Uh-huh. Everyone was talking about that. Let's try and get Mary Clayton in the studio with G-Love. And, she was receptive to the idea, and she was awesome, man. Like, she came to the studio, and she wanted to have a glass of wine. Well, it turns out Josh Nicotra at the label, he's like a wine collector, and he came down with like a couple of nice bottles of Pinot Noir, and like, so we spent like an hour of just her holding court and telling all these stories about Ray Charles and Mick Jagger and everybody else. And then we said, well, let's like you do it. Yeah, that's good. And then it was like a music lesson where she was something that Kevmo kind of really honed in on me, like how to really like, I never thought about it, like how to really like use your voice to hit in a certain way on the beat. So she was helping me. I mean, it was really daunting for me in a sense, because we're doing it, cutting the vocal live.
Right,
She's across the room from me. We're both in the,
so that video is what happened. When you watch the video, that was it going down. Yeah. Fuck, that's awesome, dude.
So, it was like a music lesson, and it was cool. And that I haven't seen her since. She had a terrible car accident.
I thought she passed away sometime last year.
Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Like, was amazing force and just the music that we love, and her. It was just such an honor to be able to share an afternoon with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're about to go on tour for a few months, and is that you're doing it as a 3-piece G11 Special Sauce style, or?
I'm going solo acoustic. We're going tour with Dispatch and OAR.
Oh,
yes, I'm first to be. So this is an interesting gig because I'm playing like the big rooms, solo acoustic, which is an interesting task when you're playing for like the big amphitheaters. That's a big thing.
Well, I mean that.
But yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
On your YouTube channel, you're playing Philadelphia Love. That's the first song on the record, right?
Yeah.
You're playing that just solo acoustic, harmonica, and guitar, and that's fucking great.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. So I mean, I started out as a solo performer. So
yeah,
I give. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that I've always been a coffee shop kid, and those are skills learned as a street musician that, I hold on to till the end of my days. And I think if you talk to a lot of my musician friends that are great band leaders, whether it's Dave Matthews or, Miles from Slightly Stupid or Jack Johnson, anybody else, a lot of these, most of us started as solo music, right? Because we were songwriters before we had a band. So that's a lot of the great band leaders that I know, Citizen Cope, anybody, these guys, that's how they hone at doing a solo show.
Yeah.
You get a band, after you're like a competent solo performer and you can put on a captivating show like that, and then you get a band, it's like, let's have some fun. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like they're two different things. Like, I feel like I came up doing a lot of solo stuff, but also in band stuff, like as a songwriter guy. So I feel like they're two different sort of things. But facing the giant room as a solo guy, I've done that a bit. Even in the last few years, it's a little daunting.
Yeah.
Got to project a little more when you're telling stories.
Yeah, and it's also like, again, it's like, what's the attack going to be? Is like the fast tempo stuff work, or is like the kind of slow, really open stuff work? You have to think about like the PA you're going, like that pushing the sound through, and like the people way up on the lawn, like how can you get over? Yeah, so I've done it a number of years on some pretty bigger tours, so it's always a challenge, but I've had some great shows.
Yeah.
I did want to, if I could bring up one more topic.
Sure.
I know we're kind of running towards the end of our conversation, but the interest, another cool, I'm all about juxtapositions, and this latest record for us, the juxtaposition, at least on the release side, has been that we're the first blues album, contemporary blues album, whatever, roots music album that's coming as an NFT. That's out
right.
as an NFT. Yeah. And I've been really excited about this new technology, and it's occurred to me during the campaign setting up and trying to get people of our, analog Web 2 community to come over to Web 3 community
right.
and support music in the block, which is a really hard sell because it's still early in this game. But I think what we're looking at right now is the second time in my career, the first one being when Napster came out in 2001.
Yeah.
And caught the music industry their pants down, and I think we're going to see it again right now as Web3 busts open, and again catches a lot of the music industry with their pants down.
Correct.
Because you release this NFT, you're basically, as an artist, you can, if you just hold on any, like the platform that I'm on, Yellowheart, we retain 90% of the sale.
Wow, 90% of the sale. That's amazing.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, so if you want to like support, me or any artist that you love, and how the question actually is, if the record is a loss leader for touring, how do you fund the record, right? Well, you have to use touring money or found money or whatever. But again, you're not going to make any money selling the records then why even make a record, right? That's a question that needs to be asked. And again, how, of course, in the 90s, we made records and it took a year or months and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now we make a record in 5 days and spend tens of thousands of dollars, but we still lose.
Yeah.
Right. So now I talk like, well, this is an interesting platform for artists to be able to like fund their project, kind of like a retroactive GoFundMe or Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting thing to look at like that. But yeah, our record is out on as an NFT now. So if any of your followers are interested in that, you can check out our bios, our link, like at GLove on Twitter, at Philly GLove on Instagram, GLove and Special Sauce on Facebook, and Philadelphonic.com.
Yeah.
And find those links.
It's so funny. I just had another artist. I think the episode came out on Friday. Is also getting in the Web3 game, and I was on a panel. And this might make you laugh, but I was invited to be on a panel at South by Southwest about Web3, and my first question was, "What's Web3?" And then my second thing was like, "You probably don't want me on there," but I was kind of as like a dinosaur exhibit because I was signed to Lars Ulrich's label in the summer of 2000 when he took on Napster, and so they kind of wanted, I guess, a guy to tell the story of that sort of shift that happened then.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, when he took on Napster, he was the guy that started a lawsuit against Napster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who was that? Who was that?
Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he had started a label a few years before and signed a couple of bands, and my band was one of them.
Oh, no shit.
Even though we weren't a metal band, but he had a broader taste than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So did you get money from out of Napster in the day?
No, they're we had like he was very involved like with us because we had made a record and it turned out to be a piece of shit. We threw it away after spending all this money making a record in LA. We made a second record and we were really like, he was not going to let this get fucked up. So we were in contact a lot, but then I remember as that summer progressed, I heard less and less from him, and then I didn't hear from him from like July until like December, because he was just so wrapped up in that fucking fight. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, it's crazy. So I mean, again, like and actually, we got, just to your point, that we got dropped from our Sony deal. Napster hit, 9/11 hit, and on September 11th, obviously, and then in October we got dropped because the music industry, on top of the market collapsing, and Napster just shit the bed, and they dropped any developing act that wasn't making hits.
Right.
And yeah, that was a scary time. But then that next spring we went out and did our biggest tour ever. So we're like, oh shit, we don't fuck late. We don't even. What's fuck? Who cares? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens and to see how the labels react. And I'm sure what's going to happen is just like after digital. Well, the fucked up thing is that with streaming and stuff, again, the artists get fucked because the labels have finally gotten around to doing huge deals with Spotify and Pandora and everybody else, but the artists don't see shit of that, right? And unless you're like a mega artist streaming tens of millions of times, it's not worth a damn penny hardly. Right. And it's not even worth looking at your fucking state. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm G-Love. Like, I don't know. We have 1,000 monthly listeners or whatever. So we, you didn't make shit. And then, so again, like, but then after the labels got here, piracy, they said, well, they put it down. Says, well, we're not going to sign it. We're going to sign a 360 deal. Well, we're going to take your merch. Yeah. And we're going to take, which is your gas money, right? Yeah. We're going to take your touring income, which is your bread and butter, because they sell records. And now what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we'll sign you, but part of the element will be you do an NFT with us, probably. Right. So I'm just stoked because, I'm kind of early on this. And I hope to be able to influence a lot of my fellow artists to be down with this program and like, wow, there's a different way.
Yeah.
And you know, get on it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a thing that in the next couple of years we're definitely going to see a lot more. And just for the listeners, that just for a quick understanding of what it is in the Web3, it's a blockchain. So there's ownership. Like when you buy this NFT from G Love, that is now yours.
You could buy it. You can sell it too.
You can sell it too,
and maybe make a profit.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
But it could be. You could be buying a record, but you could also make it an investment, right?
Right.
So it's interesting.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of artists doing that too. You know, with their art.
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like I'm completely engaged in it, and you know, it's been awesome to learn about, and the communities that are involved in are super passionate. And yeah, it's and again, this is it gives you a new outlet for releasing your art, whatever that is, music, poetry, art, visual art, digital art, and it also is a new financial
revenue stream. Yeah,
hopefully. So
totally.
We'll see. It's a good challenge. Besides, so that's it. The biggest challenge is getting to go from, you know, to get, if we have 250,000 followers on Facebook, for instance, and I have less than 200 followers on Discord. Discord's like the social media app that a lot of Web3 people use. And we offered 1,000 NFTs of our record, and we only have sold 52 so far. So we cut down to mint to 300. So we're hoping to mint that. But it's cool because you get 4 digital pieces of artwork. You get to stream it. You get digital download the album, and you get a rare gold colored collector's heavy 180 gram vinyl, and a chance to get a free G Love House concert and tickets, and also 1 of 5 test pressings. There's a lot of incentives to get the NFT, but buy with your credit card. But this is a
it's tough to get your head around it, but it's so funny. It's funny the hoops we have to jump through now for someone to buy something.
Oh man, gotta give it.
People can check you out on tour. I definitely September 8th you'll be in Austin at the Moody Theater, and that's with the OAR and what's the other band?
Dispatch.
That's right, Dispatch.
And
you'll be in Houston September 9th at the Lawn at White Oak Music Hall, and in the DFW area, September 10th at Irving at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory. But if I'm not playing on the 8th, I'm going to come out and see you. I would love to see you play live. This has been great talking to you, man.
There you go. Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Man, I really appreciate you giving me the platform and,
of course, and
checking out the record, man.
Yeah, people need to get out there and check out Philadelphia, Mississippi. That's why you're here talking about. Go to Philadelphonic.com. You can go. That has connections to everything, even the NFT.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
It's really nice meeting you, and really great talking to you, man.
Right on. Well, see you down the road. Hopefully in Texas.
Hopefully so. See you, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
That is G Love from G Love and Special Sauce. Go to Philadelphonic.com for all of your G Love and Special Sauce needs. Check out their album, Philadelphia, Mississippi, out now. Wherever it is you stream and download your jams. Produced by Luther Dickinson from North Mississippi All-Stars. Great talking to him. Great talking to G Love. What a cool dude, man. And hey, if you're new to the show, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my weird conversation style, and I hope you enjoyed the places that we went in this conversation. You can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is you find podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday, sometimes 3 shows a week. Every once in a while I go insane and put out 5 shows a week, but that hasn't happened since the quarantine times. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. This record, Philadelphia, Mississippi, is absolutely fantastic. Get out there, check it out. Go to Philadelphonic.com, find out when G Love is coming to a town near you, and yeah, enjoy the rest of this song. Mississippi. All right? From Philadelphia, Mississippi. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.
practice. Footsteps in the sand, making some fresh prints. A woman's place is the house and the Senate. All my AG fans, it's been a minute. Hello, never gave a long-winded speech, and in a minute I'ma end this with peace. But first you gotta get offended. While there's more eyes on me than Mississippi, the essence in the name is for snakes. They trying to get me. I'm tailor-made. I'm moving too swiftly. My man G-Love called me, said he had a new jam. Put some peanut butter on it in a jiffy. Cause worrying is like praying for what you don't want. When you look in the mirror, are you madly in love? How did black people get blues and end up with hues that get the racist dudes all bent up? Mississippi. Whoa, 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 Mississippi. Oh, whoa, Mississippi stays on my mind. 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 Whoa, Mississippi. Oh, whoa, whoa, Mississippi. Oh, Mississippi. Whoa, Mississippi. Mississippi stays on my mind. Mississippi stays on my mind. Mississippi stays on my mind. Mississippi stays on my mind.
Everything that got you on the top of the world.